Good morning, my beautiful diamonds and my beautiful Teletubbies. I have so many people who are confused when it comes to what does cognitive dissonance mean. So I always try to explain things like you're an 8 year old. It's always easier. I remember Denzel Washington. He was asking a question about something, and he said, "Well, yeah, it was in Philadelphia. With Tom Hanks when he had AIDS. He was battling AIDS, and Denzel Washington was his lawyer. And he said, "Explain it to me like I'm an 8 year old." So that's how I try to teach when someone is trying to really fully understand something. So when it comes to cognitive dissonance, let me see if I can help people to understand it because so many people are not aware of what it really means. So, you know how sometimes you might think something, but then something else happens that makes you feel like maybe you were wrong? That's kind of like cognitive dissonance. It's like when you really like ice cream, but then you find out that it makes you feel sick. Your brain gets a little mixed up because you love ice cream, but it also makes you feel yucky. That's cognitive dissonance. It's like your brain is trying to figure out how to make both things true at the same time, but it's hard. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't quite fit. So, cognitive dissonance is like when your brain is trying to figure out how to make sense of two things that don't quite match up. That's like when I was a Jehovah's Witness and they was teaching me things and it didn't make sense. But I was trying to make sense of two things that didn't match up. It can be a bit uncomfortable, but it can also help us to learn and help us to grow. So the best way I can define cognitive dissonance is when you're trying to make sense out of nonsense. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way because a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses was teaching we don't celebrate holidays and birthdays and because it has pagan origin, but then they do so many other things that has pagan origin and it just didn't measure up. So that was like, really? Or they teach certain things and it just didn't make sense because like we shouldn't wear beards, men better yet shouldn't wear beards for this reason or that reason, or people should not accept blood transfusions because the Bible says restrain from blood. But we all know when you do your research, it's talking about animal blood and it's talking about for the sake of worshiping gods, the way people used blood back then. It wasn't talking about saving a life because Jesus Christ gave parables showing on a Sabbath day, if you saw your animal in a hole, would you not work on the Sabbath to get that animal out of the hole so you could save its life? Because on the Sabbath, if you worked at all, you were supposed to be put to death immediately. But Jesus showed the importance of saving a life. So again, that was cognitive dissonance when it came to Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm trying to figure out how to make sense out of two things that's not matching up. So that's the best way I could explain cognitive dissonance, and I hope that was very helpful to you. I love you so much.